All right, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another insane story. I've heard all your cries and all your screams, and honestly, I am here to tell you this. Number one, I posted the next episode of the IRL Fortnite girlfriend video, so if you guys want to see that, link in the description down below, or just search up Bubba on YouTube, and you guys will see it. And knowing you clicked on this video because you want to see the next part of me and my dentist, and here it is, the next part. If you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, make sure you guys do check out the first episode of me and my dentist, and basically understand where we're at. So basically, now where we last ended off, I was hitting up my dentist over on Snapchat. I remember when I got home, I would always flex to the boys how I'm still talking to this dentist, and I remember one of my buddies said, bro, there's no way that you actually are hitting up your dentist, bro. Like, I don't believe you. And I remember I told him, bro, watch me. Next time I go see her, I'm gonna hit it from the back. Straight up with full confidence, I knew I was gonna do this because I had experience with me and my nurse. So if you guys haven't seen that story, well, you guys can go check it out. Anyways, me going with full confidence, I remember the next day when I had school, I was basically getting my backpack on and getting ready to leave the house. And my mom ended up walking up to me saying, Bubba, tomorrow you have dentist appointment. You know that, right? And I look at her and I say, Mom, don't worry about it. I'd love to go to the dentist. Let's go do it. Which she found very odd. She was like, wait, what? You like the dentist? The other time when I took you, you were complaining and crying about it the whole time in nervousness. I remember I basically was like, oh, wait, she's gonna think something's wrong if I think I like the dentist. So I ended up telling her, oh, like, I mean, do I have to go? All sarcastically. And she's like, yes, you do. You have to go no matter what. Honestly, it's not like I didn't want to go, is what I said in my head. And I ended up leaving the house and going to school. When I got to school, knowing I had to go to the dentist that day was really exciting. I remember I basically went class to class until my third block when my teacher came up to me once again and said, Bubba, apparently you have another dentist appointment. Yeah, so your parents are downstairs to drive you again. It's very odd. Is anything actually wrong with your teeth? Because you seem fine to me. I ended up looking at her saying, you know, dentist wants to do another checkup. And what can I say? I remember I said that in full confidence because I remember all my homies were in the room that I talked to on Xbox and they were all listening in and kind of being like, oh my goodness, he's going to the dentist. No way. In all excitement. And honestly, I had to, you know, show my full performance. Knowing I had to put my game face on because I was going to go see the hottest dentist in the world, well, it was a win-win. Anyways, going on with the story, I remember I basically ended up getting my backpack, getting ready to leave, and I ended up meeting down with my parents. When I saw my parents, I remember I walked up to them saying, hey mom, hey dad, let's get straight to the car. And I ended up just going straight for the car and ended up leaving. On the way there, my mom was telling me, I don't know what's wrong with your teeth, but I hope you're okay. I ended up telling my mom, don't worry mom, this dentist will take care of me a-okay. I promise. And then I ended up going straight to the dentist appointment. When we got there, I remember right as I was walking towards that waiting room, I was super excited because I saw her standing there wearing, of course, the same outfit, and those chairs were popping like there were no tomorrow. So I'm just chilling. I'm just sitting down on my chair and I'm just sitting there waiting for the waiting room, and she kept looking at me as she was picking up patients back and forth. By the way, did I mention that we got there like an hour early? Yeah, I don't know how, but apparently I told my dad to go faster in the middle of driving, so I don't know. I guess my excitement got the best of me. I guess that's the problems of being a helpless romantic. Any form of love you can get, you will do. Anyways, going on with the story. Remember an hour goes by and basically the dentist ends up coming out and says, hey Bubba, can I see you now? And she says it in the most perky voice ever. And me, as excited as I was, I said, bet. And I ended up standing up and I ended up going to her dentist's office. My mom was literally following right behind me though. And I noticed this the last second right before I entered into her office. And I turned around saying, Mom, you don't want to come in here. Stuff might get really serious. She looks at me and she's like, what's wrong with your teeth? Why do you need to see her alone? I remember the dentist looks at me and she's like, oh, like we have to like, you know, ask a couple questions. My mom looks at the dentist and says, ask him questions? You're a dentist, not a doctor. Mom? Yes, honey? Can you just please leave me alone? I literally said it to my mom, and honestly, she looked at me with the most like heartbroken face, and she ended up going back to the waiting room. And when she did, I remember I felt so bad to the point where I looked at my dentist and my dentist looked at me in like the most weirdest way. And I was like, Mom, okay, wait, you can come sit down with us for a bit, okay? But like, I'm kind of just embarrassed of my teeth. My mom looked at me with excitement and says, okay. And she ended up coming into the room with me. Now, there's no way I was going to do the devil's tango with my dentist when my mom was literally in the same room. Don't get me wrong. My mom walked in on me here and there, but this was too much. As my mom, me and the dentist were all in the room and this dentist was going through my checkup, she wasn't, well, being flirtatious at all, which I don't blame her. My mom was literally in the room. So I remember I ended up saying, hey mom, can you check on dad? I basically told her to go check on dad to go see what's going on because he didn't come into the room with us. And my mom ended up standing up and going. And right as my mom literally leaves the office door and the door shuts, I'm not even joking when I say this dentist ends up grabbing my face and making out with me. She's making out with me on this dentist like seating chair or whatever the hell it's called. And I remember I was like eyes wide open when she was doing this. Instantly, she ends up pulling back and basically says, oh my goodness, you have no idea how long I wanted to do that. And I remember I'm just sitting there going, sweet, in all excitement. Usually at this point, I would be doing the devil's tango. But knowing my mom could come back any minute, I remember I told the dentist, hey, like, like, is it cool if I just like go to your place instead? Like, this is just gonna get too much. Like, I can't risk my mom coming back in here. She looks at me and says, listen, I would, but I live with my husband. I remember when she said that, I looked at her and I'm like, wait, you're married? And then that's when I noticed she had a ring on her finger. At this point, I didn't know what to do. I was in severe panic, and in my mind, I thought I was going crazy. Flirting with a dentist that was literally married? That's like straight up from a movie. It made no sense to me, and I looked at her and I'm like, are you sure this is the right thing to do? And she looks at me and says, oh, don't worry, like I'm planning on divorcing him eventually. It's just, you know, like you really like are like a fun kid, I guess. I don't know. When she said that and called me a kid, I was kind of just grossed out, and instantly, I'm not gonna lie, I went from being bricked up to, well, the next noodle on the stack. It was just not worth it. And I just literally said, all right, you know what? Can we just get this appointment done with and say you have to check in on me again? She looks at me and says, Baba, I can't just keep making up excuses for you to come back. Something needs to happen to your teeth if you actually need to come back. And I looked at her and I said, okay, just book me another appointment. When's the soonest one I can get? And she's like, oh, well, checkups are usually like a month to month kind of thing. I look at her and I'm like, so you're telling me I have to wait a whole month to see you again? She ends up kind of like, you know, panicking, and she starts shaking, and I'm like, okay, you know what? One day we'll just meet up somewhere. How about that? She looks at me and she's like, okay, like that works with me. And then she ended up basically pretending to do a checkup on me. In reality, we mostly just talked about my school life and stuff and how I should prepare for my future. Little does she know I'm a YouTuber now and end up telling the story. But you know what? If you're listening to the story, you were a hot dentist. Anyways, yeah. So basically, I ended up getting up, leaving, and I basically was kind of just feeling down. Because let's be real here. I told my friends that I was going to do it with my dentist, and I ended up hyping myself up for really nothing. I guess it was one of those things where you basically get really excited to do something, but it never ends up being that something. I don't know. I think we all know this feeling. Comment down below if you do. And on top of that, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. This story is not over yet, because I remember I ended up getting a Snapchat later on throughout the day. Opened it, and I remember I looked at it when I was literally at home, just sitting on my bed, kind of just all down and stuff, because I didn't want to go on Xbox and telling the boys that nothing happened. And she ended up sending me a photo of basically her with her cherries out at home in the mirror saying, guess whose husband's gone for a couple weeks on vacation, and guess who's staying home, with the big eye emoji that, like, you know, people use. At that point, I knew I'm gonna go over to her house and do it. I'm gonna do the devil's tango at her place, at her home. It was a mission. It was honestly the move. So I remember I basically planned everything out with her, and ended up getting her number, and I started calling her, and we basically started discussing what the plan was. And then from there, I remember basically the next week on Monday, I was gonna do it. But what ended up happening on Monday kind of sucked. And I'll tell you why, but honestly, this video is too long. I know you guys don't want part 2s. I know, and I'm sorry I'm making this a part 3. But if you guys do want to see more, comment down below, and I promise I'll tell you guys it. Anyways, like I always say, fall for more embarrassing but crazy stories. Peace out, guys.